The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension. Everyone had their eyes on the witness stand, waiting for the shaky witness to speak. This wasn't just any trial, it was a high-stakes legal battle that had the media buzzing. The witness was the key to the prosecution's case, but their credibility was questionable at best. The tension in the room was palpable, as the lawyer, known for his quick wit and brutal cross-examination tactics, prepared for the inevitable showdown. With a steady hand, the lawyer adjusted his tie, eyes narrowing in on the witness. He had been in countless courtrooms before, but today he was ready for something special. He knew that with the right strategy, he could turn this shaky witness into a laughingstock. The moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. The witness fidgeted nervously, shifting in their seat. The lawyer wasted no time. He stood up with a confident air, his voice cutting through the silence like a sharp blade. "I'm just going to ask you one simple question," he began, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Are you absolutely certain about what you're saying?" The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of uncertainty. The witness stammered, clearly rattled. "Yes, I'm sure," they muttered, their voice faltering. It was clear they were already on the back foot. The lawyer smiled, sensing an opportunity. "You're sure about everything, right? Because, what you say here today could change everything," he said, leaning in slightly, his voice lowering to a near whisper. The courtroom was silent, the audience hanging on every word. The witness nodded, but their face showed doubt. They were losing control, and they knew it. The lawyer pressed on, hammering away at their credibility with precision. "Tell me, did you know that what you're about to say is being recorded, and everyone in this room is watching? Did you really think you could just walk in here and lie?" His voice was filled with mock disbelief, and the room began to murmur. The lawyer continued his relentless assault, each question more pointed than the last. The witness tried to keep their composure, but it was clear they were unraveling. They were no match for the lawyer's cunning, and the courtroom felt like it was closing in on them. As the cross-examination continued, the lawyer's questions became sharper, more revealing. He wasn't just trying to discredit the witness, he was aiming to humiliate them, to make sure that the jury understood just how unreliable this person really was. He painted a picture of someone who had no business being on the stand, someone whose testimony could not be trusted. Then came the final blow. The lawyer asked a question so simple, so direct, that the witness had no choice but to falter. "Did you even see what you claimed to have seen, or were you just guessing?" The words rang out in the silent courtroom like a bombshell. The witness's face turned pale, their eyes wide with panic. The audience could feel the shift in energy. The once confident witness was now a broken shell of their former self. The lawyer, however, stood tall, unshaken by the drama unfolding before him. He had done it. He had turned the tide of the trial in one swift, surgical strike. The witness, caught in their own web of lies, had nowhere to hide. Every inch of credibility they had was slipping away with each passing second. The room was buzzing with disbelief, and the lawyer knew he had won the battle. But this wasn't the end. The witness was still sitting there, trying to salvage their dignity, but it was clear they had been utterly destroyed. The lawyer turned to the judge, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "Your Honor, I have nothing further," he said, his tone dripping with satisfaction. The judge nodded, and the lawyer sat back down, his work done. He had dismantled the witness with precision and style. The crowd could only watch in awe as the witness's testimony became a laughingstock, something the jury would surely never forget. As the courtroom waited for the next phase of the trial, the lawyer's reputation grew even stronger. He had once again proven why he was considered one of the best in the business. He was a master of his craft, and today he had shown just how powerful a well-executed cross-examination could be. The aftermath of the cross-examination was electric. The courtroom buzzed with whispers, some impressed by the lawyer's tactics, while others were left in stunned silence. The witness, now completely discredited, sat with their head bowed low, unable to make eye contact with anyone. The lawyer, on the other hand, sat back in his chair, the calm at the center of the storm. As the case continued, the prosecution seemed visibly shaken. The foundation of their entire case had just crumbled in front of them. The lawyer's brutal dismantling of the witness had made it impossible for the jury to take the testimony seriously. Everyone in the room knew that the prosecution's case was in serious jeopardy. The defense team, however, was still on edge. They knew that they had a long road ahead of them. Even with this dramatic victory, there was still more work to be done. The lawyer, ever the strategist, had a plan, and he wasn't about to let his guard down now. But the real power of his victory lay in what came next. The lawyer knew that the damage he had done to the witness's credibility would echo throughout the rest of the trial. The jury had seen firsthand how easily the witness had crumbled under pressure, and they would now have serious doubts about anything the prosecution presented. As the next witness took the stand, the lawyer's presence was commanding. He didn't need to say much, his reputation had already done the work for him. The jury, no longer so easily swayed, now viewed every piece of testimony with a more discerning eye. The case had become a game of psychological warfare, and the lawyer was the master. He knew exactly how to manipulate the courtroom dynamics, how to exploit every weakness, and how to make the opposition fall apart at the seams. Every move he made was calculated, and it was clear that the jury was falling under his influence. Midway through the trial, the lawyer paused for a moment, knowing that now was the perfect time to seal his victory. With a smile that barely reached his eyes, he turned to the jury, then to the judge, and finally back to the witness stand. "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he began, his voice steady and calm, "I think you've all seen enough to know what's really going on here. This trial isn't about what happened on that fateful night. It's about who you can trust. And based on what you've seen today, I'm confident that you know exactly who you can trust." The weight of his words hung in the air, and then, as he always did, he dropped the mic. His closing statement, brief yet powerful, left no room for doubt. The witness's testimony, once the cornerstone of the prosecution's case, had been utterly destroyed. The defense had won, and the courtroom erupted into applause, but the lawyer remained stoic. As the trial came to an end, everyone knew that this was more than just a case won, it was a statement. The lawyer had proven, once again, that with the right strategy, even the most formidable witnesses could be torn apart. He had turned their testimony into a joke, and in doing so, he had secured his place as one of the greatest legal minds of his generation. The case was over, but the story of that lawyer's brutal cross-examination would be told for years to come. His reputation, already formidable, had now reached legendary status, and the jury, having witnessed the destruction of the witness, would undoubtedly carry that memory with them for the rest of their lives. As the video comes to an end, if you were impressed by the lawyer, strategy, and the way he turned the tide of the trial, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more captivating courtroom stories. You won't want to miss what's coming next.